Hello, folks. Welcome to a special edition of Friday Night Conversations. We're going to be talking to a lady who is a longtime friend of George Skates, who is now on death row for several murders that he did not commit. So I'm going to be calling Gwen, and she's expecting my call, and we will see what she has to say so she can tell us about the real George Skates.
Hello?
Hello, is this Gwen?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Gwen. It's Steve Holder. How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I sure do appreciate you talking to me.
I just love your accent.
Well, thank you. I'm in East Tennessee.
Well, I'm from Kentucky.
All right. Well, we should communicate really good.
What part of Tennessee you from?
Johnson City.
Johnson City, Tennessee. Yes, sir. I've been there many a time.
Is that right?
Yes.
Well, good, good. So I know you're a longtime friend of George Skates, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. You told me you're okay with this being recorded, and we're going to put it on my podcast and all.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay. So before we get started, you're going to just go ahead and tell us how you met George, and go ahead and take as long as you want. You can give me long answers or short answers or whatever. Just want to give everybody a good feeling of what George was like before he was framed for murder.
Well, I met George when I was about 15 years old. I was pretty young and dumb. I grew up, in a single home with just my dad and my brother. And I was running around with some pretty mean people, like a motorcycle club. And, I was still, was a virgin and all that. These people, were just about getting ready to take care of that. And George jumped in and George saved me. He got me out of there.
Well, he was kind of your hero at that point, wasn't he?
Yep, he sure was.
Yeah.
Yep, he sure was. And George has just been there for me whenever I needed him. We lost contact. I had my son about a year later and I lost contact with George, and that was around 74. And the next thing I know, George is locked up.
So you didn't see him for several years then?
Well, yeah, I seen him back and forth, but I never was around him a whole lot.
Yeah.
I mean, there was, I think about the last time I seen George, my little boy might have been 3 years old.
Yeah.
And then I was running around with some pretty scary people then, and this fella that I was running around with took me up to this place and said I was kidnapped. And I didn't know if I'd ever see my son again or not, but guess where he took me? He took me to George's house. And little did he know that I knew George.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And George is the best place to be kidnapped, I'll tell you.
So did you two have mutual friends then, you and George?
Yeah, we did. We did. My ex-father-in-law ended up, he was one of George's best friends back then. And then I later on married his son. And then that's how I become reacquainted with George. And that was after he had been locked up and everything for these murders.
Now, was he a popular guy?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was.
Was he?
Oh, yeah. I used to be a bouncer at a place called, a bouncer at a place called the OK Cafe.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody loved him. He was a great big guy.
Yeah.
And had hands that could squish your neck real quick.
Did he?
Oh, yeah, yeah. And he was just a barrel of fun. I mean,
Yeah.
he would kid with you, and I mean, everybody that knew George, you know, he's a big guy. He's intimidating, you know, back in his youth especially.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you didn't know him, he'd scare you to death.
Yeah.
But
So,
I never felt afraid of George, never had any reason to be afraid of George.
yeah.
Great guy.
So did you ever change your opinion of him after you got to know him? I mean, well, you always thought he was a great guy?
Yes,
You always thought that?
yes.
Well, what was his reputation around Marion? I've heard somebody say that he had a bad reputation. Is that true?
Oh, he did.
He
He
did?
did. Yeah, he did. He most certainly did.
Was that,
Like I said, you know, he went around people that he shouldn't have been around with, and
yeah,
you know, done things that he shouldn't have done. I mean, my lawyer, J.C. Ratliff, had told me, you know, George was sitting in prison for things that he didn't get in trouble for before.
yeah,
Never murder.
yeah. Was he in and out of jail a lot in his younger days, or
Yes, he was.
was he? Was this like in the county jail, city jail, or did he go to prison any time before he was
So
framed?
he went to prison.
He did.
Yes.
And what did he go up for? Do you know?
You know, I never did know.
Yeah,
It was all little, you know, petty crap. It wasn't nothing. It wasn't anything, you know, mean or malicious or anything like that. It's just probably, I think once might have been for stealing a car.
yeah.
I'm not sure.
But never for anything violent.
No.
Yeah. So did you know any of his wives? How many times was he married?
I knew Diane, and I knew, maybe not personally, but, you know, in between I talked to Diane on the phone. And the other one, I'm trying to think of her name, but,
Wasn't he married to one named Cindy?
yes,
And I met Peggy. Was there one named Peggy?
yes, I know Peggy because
Okay,
she later married my best friend's dad.
okay. Now, which one is Joe's mother? Is that Cindy?
You know, I would think so. I'm not really sure.
And see, I think is Cindy Shane's mother also?
I'm not sure. I think so.
Okay. Yeah, I've been trying to put pieces together. I've heard here and there. I watched a few interviews on YouTube, and first I talked to Miranda Hundley. I think you know her. She's a sweet lady.
Who's that?
Miranda Hundley.
Oh, yeah, I've recently
Yeah,
met her, yes.
yeah. And I talked to Sheila recently, and she's a sweet
Oh,
lady.
she's just a sweetie.
Yeah.
I really think the world of her.
Yeah, I do too.
And Erin, she's a sweetheart.
Now, who is Ann?
Erin is George's daughter.
Oh, Erin. I thought you said Ann. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah. Now, was
And
George? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I speak with Shane every now and then on Messenger.
Yeah.
And I can't remember one of his sons. Maybe I can't remember his name either. My mind's a blank today. I'm not feeling very well. But his mom is Peggy.
Yeah.
And I speak with him every now and then on Facebook or something.
Yeah. So was George ever in a gang of any kind?
You know, I don't really know if George was ever a member of the gang or not, but he did affiliate with a couple of the gangs in town.
Yeah. Yeah, I
And
know.
at the time, that was the Freedom Riders or the Avengers.
Okay. Now, he's been accused of being a part of the Aryan Brotherhood in prison, but I've been told that that's not really true.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think he was?
No.
Okay.
I mean, if he had been, he would have told me.
Yeah, yeah. So what would you like for people to know about George that maybe they won't find out anywhere else?
That George didn't commit these murders.
Okay.
And he's not the big bad wolf that everybody thinks that he is.
Yeah.
He's one of the most patient, sensible people that I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
And he's very intelligent. I mean, he's just, oh, I'm so sorry about that.
That's okay.
As George would say, I hear my dogs.
Sounds like a,
Yeah, he's a very good friend of mine and my husband's.
yeah.
Just a minute. Rudy. He barks at everything.
Oh, okay. Now, were you ever in Bell Fountain? Did you know Arthur Smith?
No, I did not.
Okay. And I've been told that George never met him either.
No, he did not.
Yeah. So do you know where George was at the time that Arthur was murdered? Did he have any alibis?
You know, if I'm not badly mistaken, I think George was locked up or he was living on Fairview Avenue.
Really? Yeah, there's clearly no kind of physical evidence that connects him to the murder scene or in Arthur's Volkswagen or even at Rink's. I mean, there's nothing.
No, nothing.
No, that's just crazy. And it's, from what I've gathered, corruption is kind of the name of the game in the police department in that area, the sheriff's department.
You know, they just had it in for George. Like I've told you before, my attorney had told me that, you know, George was just a menace. You know, he didn't get into nothing that was so bad that would ever put him away, but they was just so tired of him getting by with petty stuff that they just couldn't handle it anymore, and they just wanted him off the streets.
Yeah.
And that's what they done.
Yeah.
I mean, they got these guys that was in prison to come forward and testify against George.
Yeah.
And how would they have any better than George, you know?
Yeah, and it's clearly, I mean, it seems to be a matter of record that the prosecutor paid off several people. Let's say Jimmy Rogers and Diane Rogers and what was that? I'm sorry?
I said definitely.
Yeah. And there were several others that got paid off too, weren't they?
And somebody must still be getting paid off because he's still sitting there
Yeah.
for a murder that he did not commit.
Yeah. And there was even people that were there in the prison riots that seen the whole thing go down, plainly confessed to, you know, his trial that he was saving lives that day in the prison, all those days in the prison. He didn't kill anybody.
No, he did not. And I have been in touch with some people concerning that, you know, and I have talked to some people there, not, you know, that was there at the time. And I was told that the man that was killed, the Landingham, him and George, you know, was good friends. I mean, as far as a prison guard and an inmate can be.
Yeah.
And that he always reached out to George, and that George did his best to help him.
Yeah.
And I was even told that George wasn't even around when he was murdered.
So do you think the fact that George was the, I guess you could say, negotiator for on the phone, do you think that had a lot to do with him getting convicted?
Well, you know, George was trying to keep the peace. George wanted this over just as much as anybody else did.
Yeah.
You know, he was just trying to keep people from getting hurt and killed.
Yeah.
And if you listen to the documentary on that, and if you watch it, they even made George step down as mediator because he was trying to keep the peace so much.
Yeah.
You know, he was trying to tell these people, look, if you don't do something and do it now, people's going to get hurt.
Yeah.
And then after that, George was no longer the negotiator anymore. They put somebody else in.
Yeah. So did you ever know this, have any chance to meet the district attorney that prosecuted George for the Arthur Smith thing?
I did not.
I hear he had a bad reputation also.
Oh, he did. He did.
Yeah.
He was out there slinging marijuana, and back then, that was a big thing.
Yeah.
And I think George kind of stepped on his toes a little bit. He felt that he had to take George out in this way. This was his way of doing it.
Yeah. Do you know anybody in Bell Fountain?
I know Sheila.
Oh yeah, she was there. Okay.
Yeah, that's just about. And then I did have, back in the day, I did have some people that lived in Bella Fountain.
Yeah. Yeah, I
But they're
understand.
all gone now.
Yeah, unfortunately.
That's just the way. That's the way it goes.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've been warned about Angie Dent.
I have. But go ahead and tell me what you want to tell me also.
Well, I'll tell you what. I started out with Angie and Aaron, and after they found after that, Angie found out how close George and I were. She didn't like it. And, I was telling her we was trying to get some things done, and I had wrote the governor's office. And I'll be darned if she didn't turn around and go right back in after I had told her what I was doing. And she started with the governor's office. And then what I had put forth, she had busted down that quick.
Mm.
And everything she does, she had a crush on George. She got jealous over George's daughter. And I told George, I'm no longer, as long as Angie Dent is in doing this, I'm not doing anything anymore. I cannot work with her. I will not work with her.
Yeah.
And then Jackie Bowers turned against me because I stuck up for George's daughter.
Now, Jackie Bowers is George's sister, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And her and I used to be, kind of on good terms.
Yeah.
And then the minute that all I told her was, look, George ought to know who he bothered and who he didn't bother. And as long as George tells me that that's his daughter, then I'm going to believe him. Who are you to say that's not his daughter?
Exactly.
And then she turned against all of us.
Yeah.
And her and Jackie Bowers, or her and Angie Dent are in cahoots now, and they have done nothing but tear George down. And it's been told, Angie Dent, I know this for a fact, that she got some of his legal stuff from an investigator out in California. And they sent them to her. Why they would do that is because she falsified information and signed George names to document. She also has Facebook under George Skatzes' name, and if anybody knows that George is in prison and George can't have Facebook accounts,
Right.
and he gets in trouble for it, then there's nothing we can do. We tried to take it down, and we can't take it down.
Yeah.
Angie Dennis also went on and GoFundMe, which is also on Facebook, under George Skates, and had money donated to her because they thought she was George Skates.
Right.
Them two has done nothing but done everything in their power.
So right now it's just a revenge thing for her. Is that what it is?
Evidently, it is.
Yeah.
But in the material that she got from the investigators out in California, she swears that she has something that would exonerate George. But since George will not commit with her if he gets released, she's not letting go of what she has.
Do you think she really has something?
You know, only God knows. We have no idea what was in those cases of stuff that she got from those investigators.
Yeah.
We have no idea. And we've even called out there and, asked them, why did you do this, And they said, well, she forged George's name. Well, okay, she forged George's name. Don't you think she should be gotten in trouble for forgery? I mean, they're right. There's no way that they can get it back now. I mean, they've already sent it to her, and she refuses to come off of it, even though she got them illegally.
Yeah. Yeah, she clearly, I don't know, seems like she's unhinged.
She is unhinged.
Yeah.
Very unhinged.
Yeah. Well, I've been warned about her from about 4 or 5 people now, so I'm convinced she's not a good thing.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I learned my lesson.
Yeah.
I really tried. I thought she was out there trying to help George, and I tried to work with her. And everything that I had done, I mean, I had interviews with TV stations, where they was gonna. I even had an interview with Dr. Phil.
Did you?
Yeah, and that went downhill thanks to Angie Dent.
Wow. Did Dr. Phil ever do any kind of a show about it? About George?
On George, no, it didn't get that far thanks to Angie Dent.
Now, did anything revolving the Arthur Smith case get carried on national news?
I'm not sure. I think it did.
Did it?
But I'm not 100%, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm trying to gather all the information I can since I was asked to write a book about the whole thing, and I'm glad to do anything I can to help George or help Sheila get some closure on her father's murder. I mean,
What worries me the most is we're all out here trying.
Yeah.
George is not getting any younger.
Yeah, he's what, 77 now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I would give anything, if he could just get out for long enough just to breathe.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 40 years in that place. Can you only imagine what he's been through?
Yeah, he's got to be a strong man just to survive it.
I wish that you could know the man that I know. I went to jail at 18 years old. And if it hadn't been for that man, I wouldn't have made it through it.
Is that right?
He wrote to me and told me, he said, you're made of better stuff than that. He said, don't you get down there and start whining. He said, you pick yourself up and you get that mindset right. Yeah. And it was his letters that kept me sane.
Is that right? Do you still have any of those letters?
I might have some in my dad's attic.
If you do, would you mind sharing them with me?
I would love to share them.
Okay. I would greatly appreciate that. That would be a good thing. And I would think that would be a good thing to get, help George have a better reputation now, and
that's just it. George, after all that time that I spent knowing him as a younger girl, after the next thing that I knew, George was arrested and in jail for murder.
Yeah.
But how can he help a young girl being the bad man that he's supposed to be?
Yeah.
If he was as bad as everybody else thinks that he is, would he have wanted to rape a young girl too?
Yeah.
But no.
Yeah.
He was out there to save that young girl.
So are you convinced that you would have been raped if it wasn't for his intervention at that time?
No doubt.
Yeah. And this was by a motorcycle club?
Yes.
Now, are they still in existence, that club?
No, not around there. No. I don't know too much about them anymore.
Do you remember the name of the club?
Well, I'd rather not say.
Okay. I understand.
Yeah, but I mean, and there's other people that I've talked with that he's helped little kids. And
Yeah.
I have a friend, she used to be my sister-in-law, and she was telling me of an example because her mom used to own a bar. And she was, you know, how George is supposed to be racist, this, that, and the other, but, you know, he helped this little girl out and took her home to her mom and told her, if I ever catch you down there again, I'll bust your hind end myself. I mean, he was all the time out trying to help people.
Yeah.
As bad as George Skatzes is supposed to be, he was always there to help.
Now, he was born and raised in Marion, is that correct?
Yes.
Did he ever live anywhere else, even for a little while?
You know, I don't know. Like I said, we lost contact for a long, long time.
Yeah. Do you know if he traveled around a lot?
It's hard telling where George was.
Okay. Okay. So it sounds like you have absolutely nothing bad to say about the man.
I do not.
Well, that says a lot right there. Yeah. I mean, you've known him for as long as you have, and
You know, George is no angel. None of us are.
yeah.
But I know that George Skatzes is not a murderer.
Yeah. Well, I'm certainly convinced of it. I'm certainly convinced.
And I will do anything in my power to help him. And as long as I have breath in me, I will continue to work for him.
Yeah. Well, good for you. Good for you. I don't know if I'll do any good at all, but I'm willing to try to help, just to be a part of his team to get his message out and hopefully get some justice for him and closure for Sheila, if possible.
If we all work together and we can trust one another, we might get something done.
Yeah, that's true.
Just find people that you could trust to work with.
I know. It's hard to trust anybody, isn't it?
Well, like I said, this Angie Dent and Jackie Bowers is out to do nothing but harm this man.
Yeah.
Everything that Aaron and I have done, or should I say Aaron? Aaron's done most of the work. Everything that girl has done, they've torn it apart and upside down.
Yeah.
And now, everybody that we had that we thought would help us won't help us anymore because of them.
Yeah.
And it's all because Angie Dent is infatuated with George.
Do you think now, even though she's apparently got revenge on her mind, do you think she's still infatuated with him?
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a post. It's Gwen and Liming for George Skatzes.
Yes, I've seen
on
this.
my post.
Yeah.
That's George Skatzes. There's a Stephen Howe out there. She was even on his post as George Skatzes.
Yeah.
And believe me, George Skatzes cannot get to Facebook. He has no way to do that.
Yeah, right. But I imagine not everybody knows that, though, so I'm sure she's fooling some people.
Oh, she is, believe me.
Yeah.
I knock down every chance I get, just like when she made the post for Stephen Howe, I put on there, well, it's like this. I don't know how, she said she would like to talk with him and maybe go out for coffee under George's name.
Yeah.
And I said, for good Lord, how is he going to talk to you?
Yeah.
And he's going to have coffee with you unless it's from a vending machine in the visiting room at the prison.
Yeah, right. Well, it's sad. I hate to think that there are people like that, but there are.
Oh, I know. I know.
Well, Gwen, I certainly do appreciate you talking to me today. I really, really do.
If there's anything I can help you with, anything I can do at all, you just give me a call. You have my number.
Okay, thank you very much. And like I said,
if I can find those letters and if I can think of anything else, that you should know, I'll be sure and call you.
Okay, please do.
I most certainly will. And thank you very much. It's been nice talking to you.
Thank you very much. Next time you're in Johnson City, look me up.
Oh, I love that. I love
Seriously, I would love for you to.
I have some family down there by the name of William.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, I have a good friend named Randy. You know him?
No, it would be Jeff Williams, and his mom and dad was Don and Betty Williams.
Okay.
But the God, I haven't seen him in so long.
Yeah.
Been a really long time. I don't even know if Jeff's even living anymore or not. We're getting up there.
Yeah. Me too. I'm 68.
And my husband's 68. I'm
Yeah.
65.
Well, we're getting up there then, aren't we?
Oh, yeah. I'm settled down a long time ago. Got 2 kids, 5, 6 grandchildren, and
Do
2 great-grandchildren.
you? Okay. Okay.
So I did settle down.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to let you go, Gwen, and I thank you very much. You've been a big help, and I wish you all the best.
The same goes for you, too. It's been really nice talking to you, and you have a good night.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All righty. That was Gwen Liming, longtime friend of George Skatzes, and she has absolutely nothing bad to say about the man. She is totally convinced he is not guilty of the charges that put him in prison, and I'm also in agreement with that. The people that I've talked to that know him have absolutely nothing bad to say about the man. They sing his praises, and Gwen there says he was her hero. So I hope that this video will help get some truth out there and some perspective. So thank you, Gwen, and thanks everyone for tuning in. And this has been a special edition of Friday Night Conversations, all about the George Skatzes case, a man who is on death row in Chillicothe Correctional Institution in Ohio, and he is not guilty of the charges that he put him there or the charges that he got there. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and you have a great evening. God bless, and take care of yourselves and take care of one another. Bye-bye.